Hello and welcome back to the Thomas Fitch Sports Show. I'm Thomas Fitch and I'm joined today with our celebrity guest, Bryce Berlint. Today's show is going to be all about Texas football as we kick off 12 days from now against the Maryland Terrapins. Alright, so let's start off talking all about Maryland because not a lot of people know much about them. So last year, they had a new coach, DJ Durkin. He led them to a bowl game. In his first year, they had a true freshman quarterback. So it was a solid year for him to start it off. This year, in the spring, they had a good recruiting class, number 18th in the nation. They have a young team because they lost a lot of players to the draft. 60% of their team is freshman or sophomore. They have a really young D-line, and so that means the defense is going to have to rely on the back seven to get the job done. Offensively, they're a very strong running unit. They're fairly one-dimensional. They have two running backs who are kind of the lead backs, Ty Johnson and Lorenzo Harrison, and the team will use as many as 4 running backs in the game. The quarterback battle is between Tyrell Pigram, Caleb Henderson, and Kasem Hill. Hill is a true freshman who's new to the program, but he's looked good early on in fall practice. So like Texas, there's some controversy with a true freshman quarterback who's coming into fall practice and looking really good. At wide receiver, there's not a ton of depth, but there are many young, talented players coming in. They have 5 new freshmen who are all 3 of the 4 are over 6'3". So how they match up with Texas, we're going to go over this real quick, and then we can get into our predictions for the season. Offensively, quarterback-wise, it's likely that we see Shane Buechele start for the Horns, and he has the edge over whichever Maryland quarterbacks start. Buechele had an up-and-down season last year, large part due to injuries. Yeah, exactly. He had a broken rib midway through the season, but he has a great arm, so we'll see what he can do this year. Running back, this is probably the closest Maryland can match up against Texas. But I would give the edge to UT because UT has a really good O-line versus Maryland has one of the worst O-lines in the nation. The hard thing with Texas is...
And Maryland has a young defensive line, so...
Right, so a young defensive line going against a really good offensive line led by Connor Williams of Texas.
Yeah.
This is a really favorable matchup.
You give Shane Buechele time in the pocket, he's going to find people.
Exactly. The hard thing is we don't exactly know who's going to start for Texas because there have been a lot of injuries in the offseason. Chris Warren struggled to stay healthy for a while, but it is likely if he's healthy, he'll be starting game 1. Wide receiver, Texas blows away Maryland. This might be one of Texas's best receiving groups, maybe ever. I mean, you look at Colin Johnson, who I can't think of any defensive back who can stop him. Devin Duvernay.
Oh, that guy's an athletic machine.
Oh, and he's 6'4".
Yeah.
He's super fast.
Yeah.
Incredible hops.
He reminds me kind of Des Bryant.
Yeah. He has that red zone presence. Calvin Johnson. Really interesting. They have similar names. Then you got Gerard Hurd, who's a senior. So you got a variety of experience. John Burt, who he had a down season last year, but he's fast. If he can remember how to catch the ball, he's going to be good. Armonte Foreman, Lloyd Jordan Humphrey, Lorenzo Joe, Dorian Leonard. That's 8 guys. That is a lot of just talent and depth. And the Terrapins, they got a really shallow young group. So
I think the key for Texas to win this game is if their defense can hold its own against a young, semi-decent offense, which it should.
Right. And let's get to defense. So we've already talked about D-line. The Horns don't have a lot of depth, but they do have talent led by Poona Ford. Maryland lost multiple players on the D-line, and so they're very young. So the edge is going to go to Texas here. Linebackers, the Terrapins have good linebackers. They have a defensive end, outside linebacker hybrid, Kingsley Opera, and Jermaine Carter. And these guys were a large reason why they had a top 20 defense last season. And Now, on Texas side of the ball, you got Malik Jefferson, who's trying to rebound. He had a tough season last year, and he had a lot of sickness in the second half of the season. But the linebackers for the Texas, they've been playing since they're freshmen, and so they have a lot of experience.
Right.
And the DBs, that's another spot where Maryland lost a lot of talent to graduation, and they have to go against such a good receiving group. So they're going to struggle there. The Horns have a ton of really mostly sophomores and juniors, but who have played since they were true freshmen, who have a lot of experience. So all in all, Texas should win this game. If they lose this game, or even if it's close, that's a bad sign for the season, just because this is matchup-wise, this is one of Texas's best matchups. One thing I forgot to mention, this is a cool fact. So last year, Maryland had the second worst O-line in the nation of FBS teams. The number one worst offensive line in the nation, San Jose State, our week 2 opponent. So we're going to start off against some bad O-lines. We better get the running game going quick. So that'll lead us into predictions for the year. So, Bryce, I want to hear your ceiling, your floor, and your actual prediction for Texas in this coming season.
I think my ceiling for Texas are at best 8-4.
Yeah.
And at worst 4-8.
Wow. And what do you think? In all reality, what do you think the record will be?
I really think if it's at 6-6 or 7-5, that's probably what I'm looking to get at, because we have a new coach, and usually when you see a new coach come into a system, they're not going to really blossom out their first season. It's like more of their second or third season. The coach really starts getting, chemistry with the team, and they start playing like a... Because let's be honest, like Texas recruiting classes for the past few years have been really, really outstanding.
Right. The talent is clearly there.
The talent is there. It's just getting our players to play football at the level that they can, and that comes from the coaching point of this team, not the players' point. So if we could get Tom Herman, yeah, if he could. Get his guys, all in sync in second half. I think our second half of the season is going to be really, really good. Win or lose, I think we're going to be playing a lot better because, if you still need to get experience with it.
A tough first half.
Yeah.
You got USC, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, all in the first half, and I believe Kansas State as well. My prediction, you're not going to agree with this. This is my prediction, not ceiling or floor, 9-3. And here's why. I think that Texas has 5 tough games on their schedule.
Who are your 3 losses to?
Okay, well, I'll get to that. So 5 tough teams on the schedule. USC, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Kansas State, West Virginia.
USC is going to be really good this year.
So USC, and that's on the road. So I definitely think that's a loss.
That's a loss.
And then, K-State, we've never played K-State good on the road, but it's at home. Oklahoma State, that could be tough, but they have no defense. They did last year. I think we could beat West Virginia. I think the losses maybe are either USC, Oklahoma State, or USC, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State. Now, here's the thing. Last year, we were close to winning a lot of games.
Yeah, we were.
Oklahoma, if we recover the fumble in the late fourth quarter of Baker Mayfield, we win the game. So, there were a lot of games that just slipped away from us. And so I think... Now, here's the deal. I said we were going 9-3 last season too. Okay? I'm very optimistic, but I see a new energy in the players that there just wasn't there last year with Coach Strong. And I like Coach Strong. He was a good guy.
Good guy. Just not
and
the right
really
coach for us.
Yeah, and he pushed morals, but there was a lack of energy and effort. Especially come fourth quarter. I didn't see the guys, especially coming into the last game, what was it, against TCU? When everybody was saying that, Coach Strong needed to win to keep his job, and all the guys were saying we're going to go out and play for him, and then they just came out and they were just flat. If you really want to play for the guy, show some energy. But the new kind of workouts, kind of mixing the fun with working hard, that Tom Herman has kind of brought in, and he's worked under guys like Urban Meyer at Ohio State, and those guys, they have a mindset, and they just know that, they have this incredible football IQ, and so I think Tom Herman has that, and so I think he's going to be able to bring that to the university, and I already see it in the practices and in the players. Just really, even in the practices, they're flying around hitting guys. Not to mention the fact that, we lost really probably 2 starters last year, Caleb Blewett and Dylan Haynes. Oh, and Tyron Swoops, but it's a shame. We missed the 18-wheeler, but he wasn't a starter.
I agree with everything you're saying, but I don't see it blossoming out the first season as much as you do, because it just normally it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah. Well, I do think that first half could really be rough. I mean, I like
to see if we should win our first 2 games.
You got to get some momentum, get some chemistry going.
Those are according to our schedule, those are easy wins for us.
Right.
According to our schedule, we need to get those wins, and we need to have momentum, and we need to push. And honestly, if we go 500 or above, I'm gonna be happy.
Yeah.
You probably won't be that happy if we go 6-6 or 7-5. No,
right.
Want more. But knowing what this man's gonna do for our program, 5 to even maybe 10 years from now, it's gonna be exciting to watch.
So you think he's here for the future, even if he wins 6 or 7 games his first year?
Oh, I for sure. I think next year, I don't know what the schedule is like next year, but with
USC again,
I think we could go 9-3 next year.
Okay.
And if he gets a few 3 seasons and his first 5, above 7 wins, then
well, he's bringing in recruits. We have the number 2 recruiting class.
Yeah,
for 2018.
Exactly.
So he's getting the recruits.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't see why Texas would not want him as a coach. He basically brought Houston to nothing into something.
Into it,
6 years ago, you said Houston was playing in a bowl game. You'd be like, wait, what the heck are you talking about?
And now they're getting 5 stars and beating Oklahoma and playing in New Year's 6 games. All right, so do you think there's any chance for Texas to play in the Big 12 championship game? Any chance?
It's tough because we have, of course, Oklahoma, we have Oklahoma State, Kansas State.
And you got 4 ranked teams in the conference.
Right, and even West Virginia, they're decent.
They're ranked ahead of us.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think this year.
You don't think there's any way?
I don't think there's any way we play in the Big 12 championship. I mean, I'll love if we do, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if we don't.
Yeah. But I think there's a chance Texas in the Big 12 championship. The only way though is if kind of all the ranked teams kind of beat up on each other. I think the only way is if you get in a 2-loss scenario. But there are a lot of good teams. But I don't know if West Virginia is going to be good. I don't know if Kansas State's going to be good. I mean,
West Virginia is a good team, a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Considering the past few years, I mean.
But I think Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are more of a real deal.
Oh yeah, definitely, no doubt.
Much less likely to flop than a Kansas State.
But like I'm saying, we have competition in this conference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a slaggy conference. We're gonna have to really, really do well if we want to play to win. That 13th game.
Exactly. You can't have those little end of the game mistakes that we've been suffering through, missing extra points, shanking punts.
Field goals.
Well, no, 2 years ago, shanked a punt against Oklahoma State and lost the game.
I remember I went to a Cal game, I think.
Yeah, the Cal game where we missed the extra point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I as a Texas fan, I get nervous watching extra points. You should not get nervous watching extra points as a football fan. That is just, I mean, it's a chip shot.
Yeah.
So also, I don't know if we have an answer to our kicking game. I could not tell you our kicker, but there's a good chance that our kicking
Isn't
game.
Our kicker.
Our punter is good.
Wait, is the kicker or punter from Australia?
Punter's from Australia. All right, we got to wrap this up. But thank you, Bryce, for joining us today. We'll be back. I don't know when, but from the Thomas Fitch Sports Show, I'm Thomas Fitch.